Hey, so listen, have you ever thought about how the stuff that's super normal for us to do here on Earth might not translate super well to space? I mean, there's a few obvious ones. Eating spaghetti, drinking out of a cup, trying to take a dump without it floating down a hallway. A lot of things are going to be kind of awkward, but I'm more thinking about the bigger things, the cultural and societal things that humans do. I'm not sure how a lot of these are going to translate to us being a multiplanetary species, and it's kind of hilarious to think about, so let's talk about it. Okay, as with my sex life, I'm going to start easy and get progressively more absurd. So first things first, whose laws apply in space? If I go to the International Space Station and I stab somebody, is this like a what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas type of situation? So I think I'm right in saying that astronauts are subject to the laws of their home country while they're in space. So if an American astronaut commits a crime, American law applies. If a Russian astronaut commits a crime, Russian law applies. And when it comes to commercial spaceflight, I'm pretty sure private individuals are subject to the laws of the country that registered the spacecraft. So hypothetically, if you had two ridiculously young astronauts, one from the US and one from the UK, they could meet up on the ISS, and then the British astronaut can have a stiff drink and fucking alcohol mog the US astronaut. Although according to Google, the youngest professional astronaut, or in this case it was a cosmonaut, was German Titov, who was 25. Although technically the youngest person in space ever was Oliver Damon. He was only 18 when he flew on the New Shepard. So, you never know, could happen. There is also the question of whether you can have a military in space. Militaries being things that humans do tend to have. There is the Outer Space Treaty. The idea behind this is to guarantee freedom of space exploration for everybody, and it forbids national appropriation of space or celestial bodies, and it also mandates the peaceful use of space. TLDR, it bans weapons of mass destruction and bans countries from making territorial claims on parts of space. It also says that we need to protect the space environment and that the states participating in space exploration bear responsibility for their national activities in space. You might have heard of the Artemis Accords recently. My understanding is that the Artemis Accords are non-binding, but they basically reaffirm a lot of countries' commitment to the peaceful use of space for all of humanity. Now, all of that's well and good. I like it when we can cooperate internationally. Fucking wish we could manage it more often, but at least we do it sometimes. Although I do think the problem is that treaties only work if the participants in the treaty want it to work. You know, a group of guys can say bros before hoes, but as soon as one of them gets a girlfriend and values going over to hers for some slap and tickle more than he values playing Call of Duty with the lads, he's just gonna fucking do that. I feel like I might have just lost the 6.9% of my audience that's female. Anyway, it requires the participants to want the outcome. As soon as they don't want the outcome anymore, they can just not do the thing. Like all the nations can say, oh, we'll be nice to each other. Oh, space is for everyone. Love and peace. Until one of them needs it for some military application or they need the resources from it, and then they're just gonna punch everyone else in the face to take this shit. It's the same way it works on Earth. There's no reason why it wouldn't work like that in space. Which is unfortunate, but I don't know, what the fuck do you want me to do about it? The incentives just need to line up, and if they don't, well, we can look forward to the fucking moon wars after the water wars are over. Another question I want to know the answer to is how exactly is property gonna work? Like, okay, let's be optimistic and say that countries aren't gonna claim land on the moon, or on Mars, or wherever. I think that's very optimistic, but okay, let's assume that that's the case. Let's say you're some kind of private entity, and you've set up some kind of colony on the moon. How much of the moon do you own exactly? Like, square footage? Do you just own the part that your base is built directly on top of? Pretty sure you could game that system pretty easily. Just spread a big tarp over a massive portion of the moon's surface and claim all of it as yours. Do we say there's like a 10-kilometer boundary around every single colony, where all the land area there is owned by the colony? Again, you can game that in basically the same way. Ultimately, I think this is also just going to work the way it works on the Earth, which is basically, me say I own this thing, if you disagree, I shoot you in the face. We do like to think that we're more sophisticated than that. You know, I live somewhere and I've never shot someone in the face for it, but the only reason I get to not shoot someone in the face is because I live in a country with the police and a military that will shoot them in the face for me. Speaking of lunar shenanigans, what time is it in space? See, on Earth we're blessed with a 24-hour day, which matches our 24-hour circadian rhythm, whereas Mars's day is just off by 24 hours, enough to be probably slightly annoying to most people, and trying to stay up for a full lunar day is quite literally a recipe for death. Honestly, I think I'd quite like to live on a planet with a day that's like 28 hours. Seriously, the second I have like a week off from my fucking day job, I'm up for an extra couple of hours, and then I sleep an extra couple of hours, and then before you know it, within a couple of days, I'm basically fucking nocturnal. So a few extra hours in the day would be fine by me, man. Basically the exact opposite of what the people on the ISS experience, because as you might know, the closer you are to a planet, if you're in a circular orbit around it, not only are you tracing out a smaller path because the radius of your orbit is smaller, but you also have to move faster to maintain that circular orbit. So while the moon gets to take a whole month to go around the Earth, the International Space Station completes an orbit about once every 90 minutes, which means a sunrise and a sunset every 45 minutes, which is so far beyond out of whack for our circadian rhythm that you basically just need to ignore what the outside is doing. Similarly to what we're going to have to do on the moon moon. Just pick a place on Earth, synchronize your time with them, and live in cycles of 24 hours. Just remember to close your blinds when you go to sleep so you don't get flash banged at midnight. Sorry to interrupt, this is just a quick message to say, statistically speaking, you're probably not subscribed, so I'll make you a deal. Press the subscribe button and I won't come over to your house and do this.
So what brings you in today?
Well, I have back pain, but I can still...
Alright, thanks. Back to the video. There's also the question of dates as well. Again, we could just say it's the same date as it is on Earth, but like, if a bunch of people are living in a Mars colony, for example, Mars does have summer, autumn, winter, and spring. It does have a day-night cycle that's honestly close enough that I think you could sync to it. I think it'd be fine. At least it would be for me, since I'm a weird vampiric creature. Wouldn't you want to have your time reflect the place in which you live? That's what we do for everywhere on Earth, with maybe one or two exceptions, like the fact that China is one giant time zone, meaning that if you go to the far west, a lot of places actually keep their own time non-officially because the official time is kind of absurd to use. Like, I can see an argument for why it would make a country more unified to just use one time zone, but in some places and some times of year the sun's barely risen by midday. So personally, I think Mars should use Mars time and have Mars dates.
Yeah, but we need to have a synchronized clock so we can talk to them.
Send them an email. Alright, grow some fucking balls. Although that does raise the further question of, if you lived on Mars, when is Christmas? Is that in Mars winter? You wouldn't get as many Christmases. Or does Christmas synchronize with when Christmas is happening on the Earth, so then it doesn't synchronize with Mars's seasons? These are important questions. What was Jesus' opinion on time dilation? We'll never know. You know, I've just thought of something even worse. Okay, so imagine you're a Muslim. I can already sense that people are a little worried about what I'm about to say. Listen, I understand. It's alright, I understand. It's gonna be okay. I just need you to trust the process. Okay, so you're a Muslim. You need to face Mecca when you pray. If you're in low Earth orbit, how the fuck do you do that? On a completely unrelated note, I've just had a good idea for a business. A gyroscopically stabilized 6 degree of freedom Muslim rotator. Also, Muslims pray 5 times a day, which means they're gonna have to strap themselves in about once every 15 minutes. Of course, this is not how it actually works. They have thought about this, and essentially they just generally face more or less the direction of Mecca, and again, they're synchronized to Earth time rather than doing it 5 times every time they orbit the Earth. I suppose it does make sense to be a little bit lax with whether you're exactly pointing at Mecca. The Earth is round, so to my mind, if you're a Muslim living in South America, you ought to be doing a headstand if you think about it. I had a whole bit lined up about trying to pull off Ramadan on the surface of Venus. I'm not even gonna go there because I can already tell the comment section's gonna be a fucking disaster. Anyway, on that poorly handled note, let me know what cultural or legal baggage you think humanity's going to struggle with when we move to being a multiplanetary species. And as always, thanks to my elite level supporters, Thunderbolt22A10, who's been trying to reach out to you about your Starship's extended warranty, Nomad Greg, who's going to Greg you right in the Nomad, Andrew Maul, whose real name can only be written in Comic Sans, John Bejarano, who works for a subsidiary company of Boeing called Boyoyoyoyoing, JDK, who once inhaled a seagull, Mutantius Doom, who gave birth to his own mother, Stormester Ritter, or as they were known back in college, the creature from the plug hole in the chemical shower, Nikita Lurie, who lives in a wizard tower, Aaron Rowe, who wants to be laid to rest by being launched out of a cannon into the sun, Bonk Chunk, who has not taken over the world as far as you're aware, That One Boy, whose physical form has no specific location, Trenton Caldwell, who can bench a small neutron star, Jimbo Quiz, who challenged Jupiter to an arm wrestle and won because Jupiter doesn't have any arms, and thanks to all my other supporters too. Don't forget to join the Patreon or the channel membership if you want to be featured in my video credits or chat on the Discord, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Over and out.